What's up, everybody? How is it going? It's Alex Williamson. Pardon the bags under my eyes. It's been an allergy kind of day. I actually went out to collect alder cones today because it's just been the first real true day of like fall, like falling leaves, cold weather, that kind of stuff. So, yeah, I went out, collected stuff, and probably just rubbed my eyes or something. But now you can see I've got these swollies. So never mind that. I mean, it might be because I never sleep, but it's more than likely from that. So how are we doing, guys? It's Friday. I'm pretty happy about that. We've survived another week. Um, and all seems to be doing pretty well. So what's going on? Corundulian Works, what's up? Sage, what's up? How are you doing? Craig, Kevin, Silver Creek Aquarius, always good to see you, my friend. Screaming Fly, always good to see you as well. Let's see here. Adam Shook, Niall, what's up? Michelle, Melissa, what's up? First Class Fish. We've got, who else is lurking in here? Y'all were talking up a storm before I started today. Jerry, what's going on, buddy? Sky Dancer, also see you. Can't sneak past me. Actually, you can. You can so easily sneak past me. Moose, what's up? Where's Squirtle? Where's Moose and Squirrel? Let's see. Who else is hiding in here? Wow, you guys had just like, you guys wrote dissertations before I even started. So I hope that everybody's feeling good today. I'm not going to go up back and read the dissertations, but we will conduct the class from here forward. Let's see here. I also have an exercise that I thought may be fun later, but let's actually today, let's go through and see what questions, what topics we have. Actually, me interacting with the chat, gasp, not just like running around my fish room saying, look at this, look at this, look at this, I have ADHD. So Nancy B in Tennessee, good to see you as well. House of Sass, what's up? Rocky and Miles, we got everyone piling in now. Shanna, what's up? Brandon, Vibes Aquatics, Barry, is it Lily or Lily? What's going on? Yeah, chat is popping off. Mick, what's going down? Brooklyn Bell, the Yeti, Jamie A. Holy cow, everyone's in here today. Your tap water is crap water. Like that name too. Now, the thing is, I have a hard time using StreamYard for the comments. So I'm going to pull up my actual, this thing and try to see what's going down. Now I've got it muted or we get crazy feedback and some of it doesn't even make sense. But all right, now I've got the live chat. I've lowered the camera a little bit, so I hope now when I read off the chat, some of it looks like I'm actually talking to you guys rather than, staring down at the keyboard or something. So there's that. Let's see. So do we have any thoughts, questions, concerns today? Or are you going to let me go off the deep end into some other thing? So is it Niall? Hey, Alex, I don't usually make these as I work early, but I made it tonight. My first live stream with you guys. Lovely to meet everyone. Well, it's great to meet you too. Welcome aboard. Welcome to this sinking ship. Regina Phalanges, what's going on? Regina was very kind, left a very kind message about the recent video on algae and nitrogen crashes and stuff, and it really means a lot to me, guys, the comments you guys leave. Let's see here. Jerry has something going on. Hey, Alex, shrimp that were slowly dying last week are still dying off one by one. How should I, how long should I wait before purchasing new shrimp for the tank if it is a shrimp disease? So I don't recall. Yeah, Niall, thank you so very much. You subscribe to Patreon also. I'm gonna give you guys a little uh, because of how the apps don't mesh well. I'm gonna give you a big secret. So if you happen to be here today, you're gonna get a big secret, which is that the extra content is in a playlist called podcast type content that I made. So all the fishery extra content for all my Patreon subscribers, they go there, and they can get that. I've posted it a few times on Patreon, but I know Patreon alerts are kind of weird, hard to get sometimes. But you can go there, whereas everyone else who's a member, which is just $1.99, it's always going to be just $1.99. I believe in knowledge for basically free, but honestly, if I could make another 500 a month right now, I could basically lock this in as like, oh, I don't have to like be sweating paying all the bills. Like right now, I'm not pulling my fair share with my wife, so I have to thank her for putting up with me with that and all that. Now that being said, you guys have been watching the videos of my travels like wild, so I mean that seemed to work very well. The trips kind of paid for themselves, and then the AGA, Alan, and you guys, I seriously can't thank you enough. I still have video after video after video that will be coming out throughout the winter for you guys from that. But I mean, I've got the travel bug now. I'm ready. Any clubs that want to hear me speak, I'll be doing that. And then I've also been kind of kicking around the idea before the holidays of doing some sort of a, I don't know, like maybe selling some art or doing something that's really reasonable, like one of a kind stuff for 20 bucks a pop or something, but just a way to try to raise some money to go travel more, to make it to Aquashella, to make it to things like that. Now, I think I may be speaking at Aquashella, so that might be covered. We'll see. I have to get the details on that, but that was kind of run by me secondhand, like, hey, you want to come to the Aquashellas and speak? So I'd be really excited because then I get to meet a lot of you as well. But the shrimp thing. So I don't know exactly what was going on with your shrimp, Jerry. You probably told me, and I probably forgot. I get a lot of different stories every week from folks every day. But I would say if your shrimp are dying off, if it's really slowly, like one every few weeks, you may want to just restart your tank, especially if they're neocaridina. If they're caridina, it could be a little tweak and you don't need to restart it. But I would say that, get more plants in there probably just in case it's a nitrate issue. It could possibly be some sort of copper or other trace element that's even in your water. So if you've tried all the kind of typical things and you still can't figure out why your shrimp are slowly dying, the other thing would be, you want to check your KH and your GH. And with neocaridina, they can survive a very wide range, but they need some hardness. Like you can't use RO water with them or they'll die because they don't get enough calcium in the water to build their new exoskeleton. So there's that. But I would say if they're dying quickly, maybe you kind of want to redo the tank. Maybe make sure that all your bases are covered. And then if that's, if you've done that, it could also just be the shrimp you're buying are not healthy. So it depends where you got them. If you trust your source, look to the tank. If you trust your tank, then look to your source, kind of thing. Let's see here. Niall, well, I appreciate that, Niall or Neil. I don't know how to say this. I feel bad because here you are giving me support, and I can't even say your darn name. Is it Nile? Just like the river? That's what I'm gonna go with. Niall. Niall. Or is it like nigh? The end is near. All. There's not many doing what you do. We appreciate you helping on a basic level. All the extra content is really a bonus for us. Well, thank you, I try to work pretty much every night. I work. I'm a night owl, so I try to make content, do research, and then the day I have other obligations, obviously, but like life and hanging out with my lovely wife and all those things at night. But yeah, I'm kind of in a flipped universe right now where I work a lot on these videos starting around 11:30 or midnight, and then I get them ready. I film them maybe one night, and then I kind of edit them, make the thumbnail, write the description, put any bonus materials in the community tab, and post a members post, like with fishery stuff. And I kind of do all that at night, and then in the day, I kind of take random naps. But I actually have had sleep apnea, and they said that it's pretty bad. It's from my TBI, from the brain injury, and it's not like normal sleep apnea. Apparently, it's like where my brain is shutting down for a second, even when I'm awake, and it's not even doing those basic like reptilian things. So I'll be sitting there and I'll kind of just zone out for a second. What it was like even my basic uh I guess my basic life support stuff, like my heart might skip a beat, my and I might just not breathe. Now when I'm sleeping and relaxed, then what happens is those happen more, and yeah. So in any case, I don't want to dwell on any of that, but I was supposed to get one of the masks, and a special one that's like automated so that it takes care, like that senses what's going on through a counter pressure in your nose, and then actually sets the dial and it ratchets itself up depending on what you need, which sounds high tech, but apparently they converted a lot of them due to the global health crisis, and so they didn't have any of them. And so I've been waiting since summer to get one, and finally they called and they're like, would you consider yourself a large nose, a medium nose, or a small nose? And I was like, for what? Like, who are you? And they're like, oh, these are the mask people. And I was like, oh, okay, the mask people. Who are you? And they're like, oh, with your CPAP stuff. And I was like, oh, well, maybe you should have led with that one. But hopefully it comes and it fits. They're like, we'll send you a couple settings, and let you try it out. But I'm like, my dream is that I try that on, and it's going to be like years of improper sleep are fixed, and I just sleep for 12 hours. Craig, so when are you coming to Australia? Australia. I would come there you know what? Here's the bottom line. I would travel just about anywhere, be that Arkansas or Schenectady or Australia. I mean, pretty much anywhere where I can get treatment, where I can get my medications for my lupus and stuff, and any autoimmune, where I can get an EpiPen, basically. Uh, I will come. And if there's a way there, I'll be there. So you better bet I'm scheming on ways to get places. But I'm not a freeloader in that sense, in that I really do want to offer something, whether that's talks, whether that's collaboration, or whatever it may be. And I've been hitting a point right now in the in the YouTube career where I gotta read you guys this. Like the emails I get sent daily now, and some of them are legit, and some of them are like this. Let's see here. Hold on. All right. Okay. So I'm not going to show you her real email, but Coco Aquatics. Thanks for reading my message. I am so love your video on YouTube's. You just search like professional blogger to make video for our product. You are interested? Question mark. I wish I have this chance to publish my nice product on your YouTube. I am the seller of nice light. I have nice fish tank light. Many fish lovers have many fish tank in their home. We can afford many fish tank quality on of product. We deeply know the customer, what they want, and nice light to have chance to be new KNEW, by more people. I can cooperate with your request and send you free lights. Can you try free lights? I have attached light models. You check out, give good rating, like light. We pay 200 and free light. So I have these people with these, like, I guess they're like Alibaba and Amazon stores and stuff, or even just websites, and they have like Higer products or whatever. They buy some third party product and or second party product. I don't know what you'd call it. And then they're the third party and they're selling it and they want you to review it, but really it's like, review this, link to our site, we pay you. And they're not like scams, they're just people overseas that are trying to hustle. I mean, some of them are probably scams, but yeah. So I get those like 3 or 4 times a day now. And what I want to know is how many YouTube channels are actually, when they show product reviews and stuff, how many are actually taking up the thing where it says, like, here's $500 just to mention us for 30 seconds. That's all you're obligated to do, even on a channel my size. Like, I don't feel like I have a huge channel. So I mean, like 100,000, a million people on a channel. What are they being offered? And so I don't know. It's interesting. And I know they send these out to people who have fish rooms and who are really active in the community too. Sometimes like tastemakers or trendsetters, I guess you'd call it. Yeah, Screaming Fly says I've gotten those too. Yeah. But interesting nonetheless. And there's some part of me that wants to just be like, sure, take the money and then review it, honestly, like without their please make happy review thing. Let's see here. So Barry, is it Lily or Lily? Probably Lily. I have no problem with Dr. Novak's theory, but he does use homemade chemi-pure but he does use homemade, hold on, let me put this up. Homemade chemi-pure or denitrate bags in every aquarium. So I'm going to say it. I'm not going to make some big scandalous video right now or anything unless he wants to get into an argument. But he is, he's not a doctor. So let's just say that a couple of us got together and hired a private eye. He's not a PhD of anything. We thought maybe he was a PhD of civil engineering or, something. He's not. And all his reviews on his book are his own accounts that you can trace to websites he set up and then had like, he is the best guy ever. He is the best guy ever. Then you'll see he posts accidentally from. So if you go to the Wayback Machine, he's kind of screwed up on his many accounts that he works from, or that maybe he had a friend work from. And he's got this British compatriot that is kind of helping him, trying to look valid. But when you follow the sources of like who said what about him or his work, until the last 2 or 3 years, it doesn't go anywhere. There's no real book when it's like an excerpt cited him from this or that. There's no real thing out there. And he is definitely speaking to real scientific stuff that works. Now, the fact that does it work in small scale? I have been talking to some of the brightest minds in the hobby, let alone, I mean, in the science. After AGA, I can't thank you guys enough for funding that trip, because I will never forget, how much that meant to me, because I wouldn't have gone otherwise, money-wise, with medical bills and all that stuff. And I met the head of research and development for, everyone was there, whether it's, I can't name drop, but I mean, think of the people who make all your substrates. Think of the people who make all your aquascaping gear. The people who make all your dechlorinators. All those companies, the trades booth was there. And a lot of the people, because it was in the Midwest, because it was in the US, all the US based stuff, they sent their folks. Now, there were also Brazilians and Germans and, French people and Chinese people. And that was cool. And it was an intimate enough, like only 200 people or so at that conference or at that event, that we literally, you could target who you wanted to talk to and kind of track them down, or at least that's what I did. And then I stayed up till 4 a.m. or 5 a.m. every night talking to those people and just literally taking notes down and getting their phone numbers so that I could call them when a tank crashes, like in my recent video. All right, let's see here. Yeah, first class fish. I'm going to just start typing in that broken English for the duration. Yeah, sure. You like fish long time? It's I love fish long time. Let's see here. Let me try to find the next thing y'all are talking about. Networking. Yeah, that's the truth. Yeah, and that's the thing is, just like that scientific aquarium site, lots of good info, lots of bad. Yeah, and a lot of it's not necessarily like bad, but it's just not proven, or they haven't done peer reviewed anything. Like Dr. Novak has never done any peer reviewed stuff. He's never said where he went to school. So we went a step further and hired a private eye about a year ago. Me and a couple people who actually had PhDs. I'm not saying I do, but I have some master's archaeology background. I'm no doctor. Even if I was, I wouldn't claim it. I just don't think I fit in the way I behave, the way I conduct my business. Let's see here. Uh, Alex gets mentioned on. Wait, hold on. Alex gets mentioned on that site. He's famous. Wait, what site am I getting mentioned on? That's interesting because there's another guy named Antov Petrov. Petrov. He does great videos on anything in the universe, usually like scientific stuff, like science-based space exploration and physics and quantum physics, and also some kind of engineering stuff. But I did a video on Mormerids and ancient Egypt and just all these specific details that I covered, and how then I did a video on how they talk and how Mormerids use electrical signals to talk. He came out with a video that was super similar within a week, and everybody sent me the video, and it was a great video. He edits way better than me. He speaks better than me, and he gets to the point a hell of a lot better than me. But I was like, wow, that's strangely specific for an obscure paper that I found published in a journal that isn't very well known. And then it happened again. Recently, he also put up another one about what was it? But then I commented and I was like, hey, I really love the way you synthesize this information, because hey, who am I to say, I'm happy if someone else finds a research paper because I posted about it and I rambled on and it wasn't approachable for most people, but that person took it and then made it approachable even better than I can. That's awesome, because it's just getting new information out there that's at least up to par with our standards of science. So I'm happy about that. But I was curious, like, if I was going to end up getting cited or something, because on his page, when I commented, I was like, I love the way you articulated all this. He was like, thank you so much, Alex. I love your channel. I was like, how do you, like, wow, this guy knew my name right out, like, not Alexander, Alex. And he knew it right off the bat, unless he did like some quick researching. But it's kind of interesting. Let's see here. Aquarium Shed. I joined when Alex was mentioning some British guy. Who was he talking about? Oh, the British guy is somebody who has been putting Dr. Novak's work like on a website, and Dr. Novak just simply isn't a doctor. He's Mr. Novak, and that's fine. I don't know why he can't just say that, but I guess he's insecure about the fact that it's a little bit against the grain. The other thing is, it's not new. That a lot of the science that people ask him to produce peer-reviewed information on, there is, but it's in German. It's from the 1930s, and it's from wastewater treatment. Well, that, and it doesn't look so great to be associated with 1930s German scientists. They did a couple awkward things in history, but no, I mean they also built rockets that got us to the moon and all that. But it's just odd that he'll never put up that, but he is very martyr complex about like, oh, Corey's trying to get rid of me, and so I have a whole video on it. I don't want to go into it, but yeah, so I love the science when it gets brought up like that, but I wish we could examine science as an issue and not as like a political like a fodder for getting into politics. What's up, Jason? Good to see you, my friend. The owner of redfishbluefish.shop, your epistogramma and European import hotspot. If you guys are interested in stuff, he's always got it there. But yeah, and I haven't been out to his place in a few months. I should get out there. Maybe go mushroom hunting now that it's starting to rain. Is Aquarium Shed here? I love that guy. Right on. Yes, Aquarium Shed is here. Yeah, Barry, I feel you. Let's see here. Okay. Chanterelle time. Yeah, you got that. That is right. Well past Chanterelle time. Seriously. Um, yeah, Matt, you're right. Novak contradicts himself a lot and is no different than someone who thinks there's only one way to keep fish. Yeah. I think that he's got good points. I'm glad someone's bringing it up, but it doesn't need to be like, and there's a conspiracy that's keeping, that the aquarium Illuminati are keeping your gravel filters away from you so that you can only have hang off the backs. That's the cool thing about science. If it works, it'll stand on its own eventually. Eventually. Now, big businesses can crush things, but yeah. Moose. Alex, why isn't this click working? Okay. Are anyone familiar with breeding Bolivian rams, and can it be possible with the Synodontis petricola synodontis catfish? I think it could be. They both like warm water. I think that the problem would be is that they lay the petricolas or Synodontis petricolas. They, from what I just learned from Jason Adams over at Primetime Aquatics, actually, I talked to him, and he was saying that you can tumble their eggs, the cuckoo catfish. But since they lay eggs and then they try to get large cichlids in Lake Tanganyika to swallow their eggs and then mouth brood their eggs and their fry, it makes it so that there's this symbiotic, really, really delicate balance of a relationship that goes on there. And so I think it would probably be too small of a fish, the ram, to put those baby catfish in its mouth without noticing. And they don't mouth brood anyways. They just kind of move their babies with their mouth, rams, and they're from the other side of the world. So it's possible to keep them together, possible to breed them together. I don't know, but if you did, you'd need to be watching the catfish very closely and then stealing their eggs as soon as they hatch, tumbling them yourself, and mimicking that mouth brooding that way. But I think what also would have to go on, and I honestly am not the person to ask for this, so we need to get a mouth brooder expert. But in the mouth, a lot of fish secrete like mucus or biofilms and things that are high in protein and nutrients, and even like what start the immune system of baby fish. And so it may be that you can add spirulina to the egg tumbler, and then the babies kind of tumble around and still are able to eat that stuff while getting aerated and moved and all that. Or it may be that it's just so unique to that species that you've got to do something very, very dialed in and specific. Just got 3 Synodontis eggs. Or ram eggs, but the snails ate them. How big are ram eggs? Maybe Synodontis will be triggered to lay eggs if they see the. Yeah, so a lot of times, Moose, fish will spawn because they see another fish spawning, but it's more so than seeing. Even it's just the pheromones and the chemicals, the hormones in the water, the testosterone, the estrogen, progesterone, all that stuff. It can really make a difference. Like angelfish and corridoras are a great example, and even like phantom tetras. My tank that is right over there, that tank actually has about 6 now, I've found, baby phantom tetras. And they're adorable, black phantom tetras. They're really tiny and they're adorable, but they're just living. It's such a thickly forested tank that they're just living there. All right, let's see here. But they're probably ram eggs would be my guess. I don't know for sure though. Your latest video got me thinking about nodes, and specifically the transition from plant form to substrate, or from a transition of plant from substrate to being attached as an epiphyte. I did this recently with MC and had initial die-off. Is that normal? With Monte Carlo, I'm guessing is the MC. Yeah, I mean, the thing is that you need enough tissue there in a plant that you've got the node that's undifferentiated, and it may be able to say, hey, carpet this, but it needs to have enough sugar, starch, and surface area also, that unless it's a bulb plant, which really specializes in keeping all that down in the bulb and then it can sprout forth, it needs to be able to have enough of that root system or the tissue itself or in the leaf somewhere, wherever it stores it, needs to be able to have enough of that so that that undifferentiated node spot is then able to do its thing. Otherwise, there's not enough resources for that node to draw from. Whether you don't, let me grab the board. All right, guys, watch me just erase this board accidentally. But I actually spent a really long time trying to draw a board that I felt like represented everything I wanted to talk about well enough. Come on, I don't want that reflection. But in any case, so when you've got the nodes, this is weird doing this. You got the nodes, you need enough of the internodal space that there's starch, sugar, carbohydrates, all that stuff to last the plant long enough to actually put its roots down. Now, the interesting thing I found out when talking to the biologist of aquatic plants, one of the guys who's the head of research and development for a large chemical company, was that also plants, almost all stem plants, they try to just use the layer right underneath the sand cap if there's a cap, or right under the first layer if they're not in a sand cap, if they're just in kind of a aquascape tank. And they spread their roots, and then they have the one tap root that goes down. And when they run out of nutrients in the aqua soil, that's when they start going deeper. So he was suggesting taking root tabs and putting them deeper down in here, so that when those little hunting root areas come down, they'll just literally come down like a half an inch. There'll be a layer of nutrients here and here for them in those root tabs, whereas they'll be feeding from all the little pellets that are part of the aqua soil that are impregnated with nitrate, nitrite, all that stuff there. And then over time, with this kind of substrate lasagna or substrate slurry, if you have pockets and voids with big stones, little stones, voids and all that, like some will fill with gas, the gas will burp up. If you have Malaysian trumpet snails or something to stir it, or fish that burrow but don't burrow like chaotically, if that makes sense, like a cully loach would work, but like a big cichlid is going to not work so well for that. Then you got nutrients throughout here, and it kind of is a strategic way to make the nutrients last longer before you need to redo the substrate. Because if you have a super bright light and CO2 going, you're going to suck up and go through all of these limiting nutrients here. So when you've got your ones that plants can basically source from the atmosphere or from photosynthesis, you've got your lighting, hydrogen, nitrogen, carbon, and then they need the phosphates, potassium, iron, all the trace elements, manganese, magnesium, zinc, you name it, even a little bit of gold, even a little bit of copper, all that kind of stuff. And they can then store all that in the complexity that is their system. And the complexity of cyanobacteria, for instance, is so simple that all it can do is kind of grow fast, but it has no way to last or weather the storm other than kind of going dormant into like a little cyst that's dried up in some cases, and some can't do that. Algae's the same way. It needs at least some ambient light every day. It doesn't really store up a lot of fuel, especially in the single cell algae and stuff. And so we can beat it at its own game by building up, making it so that the limiting factor is never those trace elements, so that our plants never run out of those trace elements, so that our plants always just need our nitrogen, our CO2, and our lighting, I suppose. And then phosphates tend to kick up algae very quickly. So you kind of have to be careful with those, but that's another one that regulates the metabolism of a lot of plants. Sunny Singh, hello. Alex, have you ever been able to denitrify in your tanks? What do you mean by that? Because I just did a video, if you saw the one I just posted yesterday, about what happens when you literally run out of all nitrogen in your tank, including in your substrate. It is a crash, and there's still enough nitrogen coming from the fish waste and feeding them a bare minimum. If I'd been overfeeding them, it wouldn't have happened. It would have been fine. It would have been enough nitrates. But because I was gone for most of a month, and they only got fed every 3 or 4 days, and it was kind of in these binges, and then like everything, including the algae and the cyano, sucked up all that nitrogen. Now, cyanobacteria, what it can do that's helpful for your tank is that it can take atmospheric nitrogen. So if your tank is well oxygenated, if you've got a lot of surface tension being broken by bubbles or a bubble wand, or by a diffuser, or even heck by CO2, whatever it is, as long as it disturbs that surface area of the water and you get surface agitation, that's where you're getting the true incorporation into the water of the atmospheric air. That's going to have hydrogen, that's going to have nitrogen, and it's not in forms that plants or even algae can use it in. However, cyanobacteria can use it. It is, in most cases, a nitrogen fixer. So you can then allow your cyanobacteria, if it's not a cyanotoxin bacteria. So, for instance, spirulina. And that's kind of the problem in our hobby is we don't have a good way of saying what's the toxic kind, what's the non-toxic kind, and how do I know the difference? Because we could literally be sequestering nitrogen in the form of cyanobacteria into our tanks. When it dies, when it sloughs off, when the colony, inevitably every cell will die, and we'll have some nitrogen in it, and we'll put that out into the water. Then what can we do with that? And it's basically a water column feeding of nitrogen. Well, probably in the form of ammonia at that point. It's probably in its simpler form. Almost a week has passed. My beta macrostoma male is still mouth brooding. Female is evacuated and out of his tank. Now is the waiting game. Oh, congrats. Yeah. A lot of people have to steal the babies from the macrostomas because sometimes the dad won't want to give them up and he'll just like straight up swallow them. Be like, nope, mine. Whoops. uh, but that's awesome. I'm gonna be super excited to see pictures if you are willing to share those. Um, let's see here. Funny you mentioned angelfish and corridors. My rummy nose tetras eat all the aforementioned freshly laid eggs. Wow, my tetras look incredible. Yeah, well, if your fish are living on eating eggs too, boy, if those fish that are laying the eggs are also fed well too, they've got all their carotenoids, all their omega 6s, omega 3s, all the stuff needed for color. So you can't be feeding them much better food than other fresh fish eggs, and bugs and stuff. Any advice from breeding rams? Balancing nitrates for plants. 10 parts per million might be okay. Yeah, oh, definitely. Probably 50 or 60 parts per million would be okay. Now, with rams, you want to keep it relatively low. Maybe 30 or 40 would be better. But with your plants, if you have rams that you're trying to breed and plants, it's kind of a balancing game because you got to keep the temperature up, which the plants honestly don't like, with the exception of a few plants. But most plants like 72 to 76, whereas rams are going to like 78 to 84 or something like that, 86 even, depending on how wild they are. Um, and they're both going to, well, the rams are going to make nitrates in some amount, and the plants are going to absorb the nitrates. So yeah, um, but you don't want the nitrates to get so high as to agitate or hamper the immune system of them. How many snails is an infestation? Oh, that is a good question. Having too many varieties of pest snails can cause problems. Question mark? Yes, 100%. The other thing that is going on in one of my tanks is I've had so many generations of snails over 3 or 4 years that the substrate is literally now crushed snails for like half an inch. The shells have passed on crushed snails. And they may not have had the best calcium in the world in them, but they have some, and they have carbon and calcium, and that is hardening up the water. That tank is at like 8.2 pH. Like that is now a guppy tank because of how many snails hatched in there. Even though the substrate was ADA and super active organics that kept the pH low, and I had enough buffer in there too. But now, because of snail bodies or snail exoskeletons and shells, and crustaceans, I'm sure too, it is it has thrown the whole tank off. And what's interesting about that to me is, well, where did they get all that? Was it just not available? Like, was it in various salts or compounds and they remade it for their shell? So that's another fascinating thing to me is like, can you sequester carbon and calcium in your snails? But like, how do you keep them in check? Because like with Malaysian trumpet snails, they'll have literally 1,000 babies, and you're like, what do I do there's all these things now. And even if you never feed them again, usually they just stick around, just barely subsisting as these little things that are everywhere. And they love to eat fish eggs. So that's my main beef with the yeah, that's definitely my main beef with the uh, Malaysian trumpet snails. Um, all right. Shed Aquarium Shed. What I was experiencing was the roots of and old leaves all browning and dying off. I thought everything had gone wrong, and all of a sudden, teeny tiny new leaves started to emerge. Yeah, so that's a form of melting, and it can be from several things. But just like in the picture here, you got your lower leaves, and some of them are going to be larger, and that's simply for the fact that the sun shines down, and the larger the leaf is at the base, the more of the sun it can catch, plus all the leaves above it can catch them too. It's really hard to point when this thing is not like right. Yeah. So the more they can catch the sun, the more these can catch the sun at an oblique angle. And even at noon, the more they can catch. So you usually see this kind of general shape to a lot of stem plants and plants. But that at the same time, if you've got all these other plants in the way and you've got like a crypt leaf here or a big old anubias leaf or something, and the bottom is shaded out, it's going to race for that light. Or if you have only a dim light, your plant is going to shoot up and it's going to sacrifice putting out nodes. See the little red dot there at the intersection? Every intersection has that undifferentiated stem cell tissue. And so all those, just like you see on the leaf next to it here, every place where the tissue could possibly start being leaves, could be stem, could be roots. Those are all points with cells that are, what is it, apotypic, I can never remember how to say it, meristem growth. Uh, but basically, what it means is the cells haven't been told what to do. They're stem cells. And so your hormones are coming from the highest point in the plant until that point is cut off or something else happens. Like a big stressor down below can switch that too. But it's being told, I'm getting enough sun or I'm not getting enough sun. Take all the resources from the roots up through the stem and put it into growing these long, leggy plants. And so dim light will do that in that it's going to keep creeping towards the light, but it's going to cannibalize its own tissues to do so. And that was going on in my tank. And it wasn't because there wasn't enough light and it was reaching for light. It was that there was no nitrogen in the water. So the plants were trying to grow up out of the water to get CO2, which would then help them process this trace nitrogen below that was still existing in the form of ammonia or whatever else. Because plants want to eat ammonia more than they want to eat nitrites or nitrates. But yeah, definitely when those leaves start dying off, the other thing that I did not appreciate fully is that you've got auxins, you've got ABA, GA, JA, and SA. You've got all these what we call cytokines or cytokinins, which are plant hormones, plant signals. And so they send those signals throughout the vein system of the plant, just like you and I have veins and arteries going both ways. So do plants. And so when they get that signal to stop growing, it actually produces H2O2. So you actually get um, hydrogen peroxide forming and melting those leaves. While in the meantime, there's another cytokine that triggers these little helper guys to basically try to pull apart at an atomic or molecular level, depending on what it is, to pull apart all those leaves goodies and then put them into the stem or put them into the crown of leaves or into the apex of the canopy. Alex, what's the craziest plant you've used in your aquariums? I'm experimenting. What's going on, Oink Master? Good to see you. I'm experimenting with tomato and veggie plants growing in my aquarium. Have you ever used spider plants as a floating plant? I have. Craziest is probably the ganja, honestly. The problem was when you want to do your nitrogen flush at the end of growing these days, the grade that people are used to get the dense buds, then it's such high ammonia levels that you'd kill your fish. So it doesn't work as a holistic thing that well, unless you just want like some 2 to 5% THC type stuff. Um, but that one, also some ferns and things. I was surprised that like the Boston fern totally failed. But the wandering guy plant, as they call it now, I'm a Jew, so I'm going to say it. Wandering Jew plant and like nerve plants and dracaenas. Even I've played with all that. Sometimes you need to take moss or peat moss or coconut fiber and kind of build a ledge so that it's not completely soaking. And because roots want to reach for nutrients, they want to, like, plants like to be stressed a little bit. They like to work a little bit, not so much that it's detrimental, but enough that, like, the wind blows them back and forth. Well, that will make for a strong stem. Whereas if they don't have any stress, the stem may snap in the first windstorm. So they like a little bit of it, but not too much. And the same is true with all their fertilizing too. Okay. Nino Franklin, what's going on? Also, I do want to give a shout out and say that Skipper's Aquatics, Skipper and I on Sunday, we'll be talking a little bit about, he wanted to talk about Vivi and being a seller on there and stuff. So if you guys are interested in that, 6 o'clock Eastern, 3 o'clock Pacific, and what, 9 a.m. English time? No, I'm just kidding. Uh, we're going to be doing a stream about the new marketplace and some of the stuff that's gone up and changed and already been tweaked because of how many of you guys have signed up and how many sellers are starting to finally sign up. It's not just aquatic arts, which is what it really looked like at launch for a long time. Now we're getting a lot of other sellers who are realizing, well, I used to sell my rams or my goldfish or my guppies for 25 cents a piece or a buck store credit. Now I can sell them on this site, and the DOA is guaranteed by the company, and there's a 10% off fee right now, and they're waiving the cut they take in order to give the buyers the price off, plus $25 overnight shipping, even if it's like a big old box, even if it's like a 1 cubic foot box, is just bonkers. Like Aquatic Arts, I would tell you use my code, because of course I would tell you that supports me, but I'm not gonna I'm not gonna like do you guys like that, because I realize if you're ordering fish in a lot of parts of the US, my code on their website is not as good as the fact that it's only 25 freaking dollars to order fish, no matter how many you order from them. It's going to be 25 bucks if it's all in one checkout. Yeah. Uh, let's see here. Also, another interesting thing is I just learned that you can do a betta bubble nest transplant. So I've been playing with it a little bit because I have Rasbo, which you guys may have seen, the little red Koi Nemo Galaxy plakat. There's not enough adjectives going on there, right? Or yeah, but they are. It's cool. I'm gonna stand, guys. My back's getting sore. It's cool because if the male isn't making them, sometimes the female will. Well, if neither one of them is making bubble nests, there are hormones in those bubble nests that will actually encourage the other two to create a baby, to create eggs. So we're gonna see how it goes, and I'm gonna try to document it. But I think that'll be super, super interesting too. Uh, After your video, I realized Flourish was just for micronutrients. I always thought it was an all-in-one. Now I dose Flourish nitrogen too. Yeah. The other thing that they won't say, let's tilt this up. The other thing that they won't say, with like CChem products, like they have a lot of great products, but um, the liquid carbon based products or the Flourish Excel, those are really they become glutaraldehyde. They become uh, an algicide essentially in the water. Like they bond and become that when employed into your tank or deployed into your tank. And they don't want to talk about it because there's all sorts of regulations and stuff that they have to consider from like international and national chemical treaties, and also like it's serious business, like pesticides and that kind of thing. And so yeah, they are actually kind of quiet about it, but it's not for carbon for the sake of like, oh, my plant's low on carbon. It's really to uh give enough carbon to your plants that they can decide if they want to melt and redistribute other pieces of themselves elsewhere. And in the meantime, those same auxins and cytokines that said melt away and build new tissue, just like CO2 can say, it's no longer it's no longer the limiting factor. And so then it allows that to send signals out, including the ones that say melt those leaves lower down, grow new leaves at such a rate that then releases and starts killing the algae. And I had no idea that that's how that worked, that we were actually stealing these plant chemical and hormonal triggers to get it to work. And that's kind of what's the word, proprietary info, but at the same time it's also basic, not basic, but it's advanced biology and chemical engineering that it took to figure out that's why it works so well, is that. But anybody selling you liquid carbon, really think about why you're using it or buying it. It is not the same as CO2. It is not in the form that your plants can use right away. It's either an algicide or it's there in the long run to be able to be broken off and used 6 months, 8 months, 10 months, a year down the line, which is fine. That's why they say to dose all the time so that you start building it up. But I'd rather not be adding all these things if I can just have a happy tank before all of that nonsense. Let me get this. This is just dry erase. I should probably get it out of the way. First class fish, I don't know. Alex, what do you think about high CEC soils absorbing certain compounds over others and then leaching them back out? Like, I think you mean like safety sorbs and like kitty litter diatomaceous earth, stuff like that. I really don't know. There's a lot of literature out there that's really old. Not a lot has been done recently, which leads me to think that somebody would be making money off of this stuff if there was a way to harness it in an incredibly efficient way. And I just don't see that. And I don't think it's some conspiracy to keep someone down, because it's not tech that can be copyrighted necessarily. It's like these big, broad biological processes. I'm sorry, I'm like drooling. I keep getting a dry mouth today, so I've got these like little suck candies. Todd Slingerland. So the doctor, in quotation marks, no nitrate filtration system on his overpopulated tank wouldn't be worth a cat's butt in a low populated, heavily planted tank, right? Bingo. And that's what I didn't get, because when I have CO2 light and even just a modicum of food, a little bit of food that allows the fish to poop and create nitrates, a little bit of plant melt off that's continually turning into mulm and doing its thing, then I have enough trace nitrogen, like 1 part per million or 5 part per million, that's enough to keep things afloat. But when you have a really planted tank and it's not going to get it out of the substrate and the substrate's not being recharged, other than root tab or water column addition, you're not going to get it. And if your fish aren't, if you're not overpopulating it with fish, it won't work at all. Which I think is interesting because most people don't have that problem. And a plant, a tank that's just full of plants with very few fish is not the norm. It's kind of the opposite usually. Like usually someone's like, oh, I have a planted tank, and they've got like 4 epiphytic plants or like 2 rhizome plants and some Java moss and Java fern. And then they got like 8 goldfish in like a 30-gallon. Fanatical, can anybody recommend nice killifish to keep in a small community? Yeah, the rocket killie, they're awesome. They can get eaten if they're too small, but they're a fun one. I love them. I know they're kind of common, but I love them. Also, you know, there's things like the golden wonder killie and stuff like that. They're pretty aggressive. The golden top minnow can be a bit aggressive, but it's a really cool native fish that doesn't need heat, and would work in like a hill stream tank or a marsh tank. Banded killies, bluefin killies, marsh killies, they're all great. Even flagfish, which are a killie. Oh, and least killies. They're super easy. They're live bears. They're not really killies, but they're fun. They hang out usually at the top, and they reproduce like crazy. All the little Lamia live bears kind of fit into that category too, even though they're not true killies. Melissa, great question. Melissa, are you the same Melissa with the piranha groups and stuff? Is that the same Melissa Turner? Also said pick from the glossosoma and pearlweed versus dwarf baby tears. I actually like, well, pearlweed's probably the most versatile. As far as carpeting, I like glosso because it's hardy. It carpets well, and it'll kind of go over even rocks and other things. Like it kind of chains, like dwarf chainsword or something like that too. But baby tears, I think, still look the best if you're trying to do like an aquascape with like big iwagumi, like moody, imposing hardscape with very low-lying plants that are very even. Glosso can also be a nice even base if you just need a field of green that's like this thick, and is a great way to hide mulm and other like upkeep issues. Canadian Ryan, I'm sorry to hear about your German blue ram. That's a bummer. Snails eat eggs. Yeah, many do. Some don't, but many do. Let's see here. Yeah, the Fundalo panchaks are pretty fun too. The orange chins and the yellow chins and the red chins and the pink chins, all the different chin color ones, they're pretty cute. Undifferentiated tissue. Are you behind, Jason? All plant cells are stem cells technically. They can all differentiate. Yes. True. I'm just talking about the nodes, trying to make it simple. Like I said, I'm not going to get into the true complexity of it. I'm just trying to make it simple on that chart, on this chart, because we were really just talking about what happened when I ran out of nitrogen. But we should do another video on that because it's been like 4 years since Jason and I were obsessed with making our own tissue cultures and all the processes that went into that. let's see here. What is the water coming from my tap like? It is about 20 TDS, although this time of year, you have to be careful. A lot of times, local municipalities will switch from a winter to a summer supply kind of thing, or fall to, year-round supply, because the rains start coming. So they get overflow, and it can really drop the TDS. So you might have been working with 50 or 100. And all of a sudden, if it rains heavily or snows in the mountains, you're going to get that overflow. And the first few overflows of the season are going to have all that crap and all the debris and leaves and sticks and tannins, everything that's been sitting high up in the pipes or in the reservoirs and stuff. And so sometimes it washes out and your TDS skyrockets for a day or two when it rains for the first time after like weeks of no rain. And then it plunges down. And I've had that happen. And I've had that actually kill fish. Anyone suggest cool fish stores in NYC? I wish I could, but I just don't know what's there anymore. I've been told a few times Brooklyn and Manhattan have some cool ones, but I would love to go see them. I would love to go speak to their club. I'd love to go speak to any club, basically. Yeah. Send you fishes. Need to get a few things in tip-top working order again, and then I will be buying a bunch. Try Xylomet for dry mouth. All right. Thank you, Sketty. I will. Oh yeah, Jason talking away about his import business. If you need a European fish, he's the guy to go to. No one else dares to do it other than a few people in New York City, really. Let's see, Alex, are you able to post plants to Ireland? Unfortunately not. They usually take them and they just rip them apart and nobody ever gets them. It really is a bummer. Let's see here. In my city, our system overflows into that is still a reality. Even in like Victoria, BC, which is a big capital city in a Western country, they have that same issue. When it rains really hard, the sewers overflow and you actually end up with wastewater going straight out into the Puget Sound. Or into the Strait of, what is it? The Strait of, I can't even think of it. Guadalupe. Prince George Sound, I guess, maybe on the north end. Well, guys, I'm going to wind this down because we've been cooking here for over an hour. But I do very much appreciate all of you, and I hope you guys are all doing well. Rob's Fish, welcome. There's always replay team. You are not forgotten, my friend. Thanks for joining. But I think we're just gonna call it a night probably soon here. Yeah, and I have bred the Kubota or Kubotai, how some people say. I have bred them, and really it's the same as any like Ember Tetra or Little Rasbora. If you watch my video on how to breed Samfong Rasboras, CPDs or ember tetras, how to breed Phoenix rasboras, chili rasboras, very, very similar. They're just not quite as small, which is actually nice. But I hope everybody has a wonderful evening. And let me know what you guys, in theory, would like to see, whether it's merch or we do some sort of interesting fundraiser for good also. Because there's a couple things like a underwater camera and a, in theory, someday I want to get a Canon body to take pictures of 5D, but that's nowhere anytime soon. But yeah, I'm trying to figure out how to kind of build up that. And really the thing you guys can do the most is just keep watching the videos, liking them, sharing. And any of you guys who are $1.99 members, that really adds up. It really adds up to a lot, and it makes a huge difference, especially to a little channel when everybody does it. It's amazing how quickly it adds up. So there's like 200 and some of you who are on there, and that means like $400 assured, and then the advertising has just gone crazy lately. So I'm feeling insecure about that, and I wanted to be honest about it, and I wanted to not like shake you guys down, but I wanted to kind of come up with an interesting way to maybe counter that going into this season, because usually this season's the best time of year for the YouTube and that. But I get that, like with the recession, everybody's feeling it. So also I totally understand that. But I am going to say that we are going to be a part of Fishmas. It's going to be more organized this year, and I'm going to be doing some behind the scenes stuff with them hopefully soon. And other than that, well, thank you, Rob's Fish. I really appreciate it. I appreciate it from all of you. I've done a lot of fundraisers for charities and stuff, and then Alan did the fundraiser for me, which I felt really awkward about, but that was nice of him. And I'm still going to give you guys more content. It seems like you guys have enjoyed a lot of the Chicago and aquascaping stuff. But yeah, I definitely want to get down to, say, South America and do some other things. So the other thing you guys can do that helps a ton is, if you're in a fish club, talk to them. If you'd like to hear me speak, let them know. Try to advocate for that. If you don't, then don't. I don't mean to like twist anyone's arm, but I just wanted to throw that out there. Okay, guys, I hope everybody's having a wonderful evening. Great start to your weekend. And I'll talk to you later, but it's always good to see you. The doc is in the house, Anthony Mazeral, and the Research Center for Aquatic Fish in the Amazon. I switched all those things around. But, ARCOF, the Amazon Research Center for Aquatic, or for ornamental fish, for ornamental ARCOF, Research Center of Ornamental Fishes. That's the one. So always a good organization to check out. Hopefully he'll be opening soon. Surf City Cichlids, what's up? And yeah, guys, I'll see you next time. I really want to get back down to Florida again and get some of those cichlids that are just wild down there. Get on the farm and see what that's like. Get on a plant farm and see all the immersed growth and show you guys the above and below. So those are some of the things stirring in my head for big picture ideas. Beyond that, kind of streamlining the fish room, doing more breeding projects, and then also more of the deep dives as winter sets in and madness takes its toll. All right, guys, I will talk to you later. Have a wonderful evening. Bye-bye.